Uh, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and a peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. In this video, I want to go into biblical marriage according to the scriptures and some information on these articles I found. 2 articles I found. I'll go through this one and I'll go through some of the other one as well. And the reason why I want to go into this, I finally get the time to, because I remember Elder Apostle Gabar doing a video on dealing with the individual from IUIC going into the whole hell thing a couple of weeks ago. And if not a week, maybe, about 2 weeks ago. And the individual from IUIC was saying how, because you don't marry a woman, if I'm not mistaken, that's why you're going to go to hell. And they believe that, hell is the actual place that you burn forever, which is not scriptural at all. So I just wanted to go into, after hearing that, I just wanted to go into, what is marriage and, marriage customs according to the scriptures. Because, in this time period, in this age that we're living in, people think that, if you put a ring on a woman's finger, that is marriage. But that is not marriage according to scriptures. And I have right now in my hand the Zondervan Bible, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. And I'm going to read what marriage is in here. Just let me find the definition. Let me find the page. All right. So this is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, and this is marriage, right? So this is what marriage is, not putting a ring on a person's finger. This is what marriage is according to ancient biblical customs. It says marriage is an intimate personal union to which a man and woman consent, consummated and continuously nourished by sexual intercourse. So sexual intercourse is what marriage is. That is marriage, sex. Sex is marriage. Not putting a ring on a woman's finger. Having sex with her is marriage. Let's get even a story to back that up. I'm just going to get to the point, but when you go through Genesis, the 24th chapter, this is when Abraham sends his servant Eliezer, to go find him go find his son Isaac, a wife of his own kindred. And then, after a while, his servant finds Rebekah, and then now he's on his way to bring Rebekah to Isaac. And here we have the subtitle. It says Isaac marries Rebekah. So let's see what marriage is in the scriptures now, right? We read it in the dictionary. Now let's read it in the scriptures. This is Genesis chapter 24, verse 62. And Isaac came from the way of the well Lahayeroth. Apologies, I'll have to figure out how you properly say that word. For he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So we see that there is no putting on of a ring. Isaac brought her, Rebekah, into his mother Sarah's tent, and what? He had sex with her, and that's what made Rebekah his wife. Let me see something real quick as well. Another word there for took is laquak, if I'm not mistaken. Right, see? Lequac, which is marry, take a wife, right? Take in marriage. How did he take her in marriage when he went in the tent with her? What do you think he went in the tent to do with her? You know, almost said something, I don't want to say disrespectful, but it's like he had sex with his wife. When he went into it, she became his wife. All right, let's not act like children now, like we don't know what this is talking about. That's what marriage is according to ancient customs, according to the Bible. Sex is marriage, not putting a ring on someone's finger. So now I'm gonna read through some of the things in this article, and I want to get the other one as well, because they could be kind of lengthy if I'm not mistaken. So it says, what were common marriage customs in Bible times? It says, while there were many different cultures throughout the world in Bible times, the Bible itself mostly follows God's chosen people, the Israelites, through the coming of the Messiah. Therefore, this article will focus on Jewish marriage customs, which is Israelite marriage customs. Marriage in Bible times were not made for love per se, but for the mutual benefit of both families involved. Jewish marriages were usually arranged by the fathers of the bride and groom and would begin with a betrothal or engagement, right? So I just want to go back to that first sentence, because in biblical times, people thought more business-minded than how it is. In this time, people think more love-minded, where, you have all these movies and TV shows that kind of show this fairy tale of, this woman loving you and you loving her and you having this nice white picket fence and things like that. No, in in ancient times, men were more realistic and things like that, where it's like, and more business minded, to where marriage was to bring the two families together for business reasons and things like that, to get benefits and things like that, as far as create a union between two households, two families, and like they said, love came later, but at first it was more business than it was business first and love later. Love came after a couple of years of being around each other, as opposed to how it is in this time period. It's mostly love, but this is not real love here in any way. So, and that second sentence, it says Jewish marriages were usually arranged by the fathers of the bride and groom and would begin with a betrothal engagement. Right. The reason why in these times it was the fathers that handled the business between the marriages, because as a father you want to make sure that you're giving your daughter off, and I'll get that precept as well, to a sensible man. You don't want to give your daughter off to just any old body, like how you have in these time periods now. A lot of women complain about, let's just be honest, because if you pay attention to like things like the manosphere or anything like that, I watch certain YouTube videos. If you're interested in you have like when he was alive, like the Kevin Samuels, you have like the Andrew Tates, you have what's his name, Coach Greg Adams. I watch a woman's thing, that thing is called Pearly Things or whatever, and a lot of those shows go into what the dynamics, or the poor dynamics going on between the poor relationship dynamics right now between a man and a woman, and how things are not going on, and what's the disconnect between a man and woman. Why can't men and women get things right? And one of the reasons why is because in these time period, women have been given liberty to gad abroad, and because women have been given power now what women think more so with the mindset of, oh, I like him because he's cute. And part of my language, but I'm just going to be honest and real here. In this time period, women get with guys because what? They think he's cute, and because, oh, he has a big dick and I want him to fuck the shit out of me. Part of my language, but let's just be honest. Let's cut it dry. That's what women really get a guy for in these time period. He's cute and I want him to fuck the shit out of me with his big dick. That's really what it's about. And so in doing that, women, when they get with these guys, most of the time, these men are not business minded, meaning that they're not thinking about the responsibility of having to take care of women. They're not thinking about the responsibility of when having sex with women, life is going to come from this, children. And I have to be responsible as a man to be able to be the head of this household and take care of them. I have to be mentally stable to not only take care of this woman and her shit sometimes, but then also the kids. And I have to have a good enough job to take care of myself, her, and the kids. And a lot of these men don't think like that. But these women, because it's, the fast life and he's flashy and he's cool or whatever, that's the guys that they go for. And then later on in the years, when they get dogged out by the guy, they start saying that men aren't shit, but it's really the men that they choose. And usually, most of the time, women do not pick good men. They usually pick pieces of shit men. That's why you would have the father there, because the father would make sure that whoever he's giving his daughter off to marry, he would want to talk to the father and find out what type of characteristics the father has, to know if, okay, if this is the characteristics of the father, I can trust that the son is going to be the same way. And I had it already lined up. Let's start verse 23. So it says, Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 7 verse 23, hast thou children, instruct them, and bow down thy neck from their youth. Right, scriptures talk about train up a child in the way he shall go, and he shall not depart. So as a man, you have a son, and your son is going to marry a daughter. You want to make sure that you put within your son's mind, honor, integrity, and things like this, to teach him to be responsible and things like that. So that way, when he comes of age to have a wife of his own, that he's not being a nigga and just sleeping with women and just not being a responsible man, just having sex with women and for pleasure and things like that. Sex is for pleasure, but there's a responsibility, there's a duty to that as well. It's not just for pleasure, but in this time period, it's been used as just a means of just pleasure, and then that's it. But sex has a duty to it as well, not just pleasure. So you want to train up your child in the way he should go. You want to bow down his neck in his youth. Instruct him on how he's supposed to conduct himself as a man, the same way you were taught by your father previously, or how it should be with our men today. How it should be, but it's not. Verse 24, it says, hast thou daughters, have care of their body, and show not thyself cheerful towards them. Right? Because you want to make sure that you keep a keen eye on your daughter, because you want to make sure that your daughter ain't running out there, talking to any type of guy, because you know how these guys are. We're all men here. We know how a man's mind operate. So you already know how he's gonna run game on your daughter, and you're already hip to the bullshit. You can see the real from the fake. So that's why it says, hast thou daughters, have care of their body. You want to make sure that when she gets to that age, when she's starting to get hot and all that, hot for a guy, you want to make sure you keep an eye on her and make sure she ain't going out there, running out there talking to anybody. You want to make sure that if you see her talking to any guy, you're like, yo, who's this nigga? Who's this guy? Nah, who's this guy? Where you come from? Where your pops at? What type of guy you got? You got a job and things like that? You kind of do what what was that? Bad Boys 2, when I forgot their names because it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but what Martin Lawrence and Will Smith did to that kid. He was like, who you, nigga? He's like, oh, my name, I think he says my name Lawrence or something like that, or Trevor or whatever. He's like, have my daughter back here at 10 o'clock, not 10:30, not 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the dot. All right, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but he was basically intimidating him and things like that, to basically let him know, as a father, I'm not messing around. If you do anything bad to my daughter, I'm going to handle your ass. And that's how, as a father, you should be with your daughter. Why? Because in verse 25, it says, marry thy daughter, so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter. Right? Because giving your daughter off in marriage is a serious thing. But give her to a man of understanding. You want to make sure that you give her to a man that understands, that have a responsibility to take care of this woman, have a responsibility to take care of the kids that come out of here. If I'm man enough to go into her and have sex with her, I should be man enough to also take care of the kids that come out of her as well, and her as well. So you don't want to just be giving your daughter to just any old man. That could also bring a stain to your name. Next thing you know, you become in the community known as a man that just, brings up whores, and nobody's gonna want to, if you have any more daughters, nobody's gonna want to deal with you and say, oh, I'll have my son marry your daughters and things like that. So that could also mess up your name. So you want to have a care over your daughters. You want to keep a watchful eye upon them. When they get to that age, I want to say like 16, keep an eye on them, because they start, well, sometimes maybe even younger, dealing here in Babylon. But you want to have a care over your daughter. So going back, it says the bride's and groom's feelings on the marriage were not usually taken into consideration, and it was possible that the bride and groom had never met before the betrothal. Betrothals could even be agreed upon when the couple was very young. In these cases, the engagement would stand until the bride and groom were old enough to marry. It says, contrary to the practice of many other cultures in which the bride's father would pay the groom's family a dowry, in Jewish culture, the groom's father paid a bride price or mahar to the bride's family in order to negotiate betrothal and, in essence, purchase the bride. The groom would also give a gift to the bride called a matan, which became a part of the property the bride would bring into the marriage. These gifts were not always monetary. They may have been property or even services provided to the bride's family. A good father was expected to share the mahar with his daughter or give it over to her entirely. I'll read through a little bit of this and then go to the next paragraph. It says, a Jewish betrothal was an important part of the marriage process and was as binding as marriage itself. Those initiating the betrothal and witnesses to the event would likely sign a marriage contract called, it says a ketubah, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, how you say writing in Hebrew, if I'm not mistaken, is kathab. If I'm not mistaken, that's how you say writing. I believe that should be the Hebrew word there. How you properly say it is kathab. Therefore, if one or both parties wish to end the betrothal, they would be required to get a divorce. I'm not too sure about that, because I know the only way a man and woman separate is through, if the woman commits adultery. That's the only way. So I'm gonna go read through this. Yeah, I'll read through this paragraph right here, and then let me see. Okay, yeah, I'll read through this paragraph, and then I'll get the other article for some of the little points that it has in there too, because some of it had some good points that are missing in this one that I liked when I read it. So that's why I'm using two articles instead of just going through one, because both of them have good points that each other are missing that I felt. So it says, continuing, it says, it was a common custom for the bride to join the groom's father's household, rather than the groom and the bride establishing their own household. So if the bride and groom were of a marriageable age, the groom would return to his father's house after the betrothal to prepare a bridal chamber. Sounds very similar to what Yahushua said in John the 14th chapter. Said, I go and prepare a place for you. This is John chapter 14, verse 2. It says, in my Father's house are many mansions. When he says many mansions, he's talking about many planets. That's where there's other planets out there. And when the kingdom of heaven is established, we're going to, the Israelites are going to inhabit all these other planets that are out there. So that's why it says, in my Father's house are many mansions, meaning many planets. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, just like it said right here, right? Going back, it says, I'll read it from the top again. It says, it was a common custom for the bride to join the groom's father's household, rather than the groom and the bride establishing their own household. So if the bride and groom were of a marriageable age, the groom would return to his father's house after the betrothal to prepare a bridal chamber, right? Just like Yahushua said, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, right? So let's continue reading in this article. It says, this process traditionally took a year or more, the length of time being dictated by the groom's father. Sounds very similar to like the Heavenly Father Yahweh. You know, no man knoweth the hour or day, not the angels, not the Son of Man, but only the Father knoweth when he's going to send his son back. Sounds very similar. Reading that again, it says the length of time being dictated by the groom's father. So the father's like, I know I'm going to finish all this. Just like the Heavenly Father Yahweh. He knows when he's going to send his son Yahweh Shai back to, Lord's willing, if we're a part of that number, to deliver his elect. Lord's willing, we are a part of that, right? It says when the place was complete, the groom would return and fetch his bride. If I'm not mistaken, Matthew 24:31, he shall send his angels, and he shall gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. The bride, right, and is not Israel known as a woman to the Heavenly Father? It says the bride would not know the day or hour of her husband to be's return. Same thing like in the scriptures. No man, again, knoweth the hour nor the day. So in ancient customs, the woman wouldn't know the hour or the day that her husband to be is going to return. She just knows, he said what? He's going to be back, but he's preparing a bridal chamber for her. And he's going to be back. And usually, like I said, it takes about a year, but usually that would be deemed upon the father. The father would be like, okay, everything's set up now, it's cool. That would be off of the father. The son wouldn't really have a say-so in that. The father has a say-so. So we're seeing how different, very similar, same similarities here. And these are customs. And this is what Yahushua used certain things like this in his parables to explain certain things. He used customs and how they were living and things like that to in his parables to explain what he was saying. But he used it in an allegorical way. So it says when the place was complete, the groom would return and fetch his bride. Again, like I said, Matthew 24:31, if I'm not mistaken. It says the bride would not know the day or hour of her husband's return, so the groom's arrival was usually announced with a trumpet call and a shout, so the bride had some forewarning, which you can liken unto this word, unto the trumpet being blown, and we're being forewarned of Yahushua's soon, his return to be soon. So gonna end it right here with this one, but I want to find, gonna get the other article. This is it. All right, so this is from Bible Odyssey. This has a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but some interesting things here. I'll put this, Lord's will, I'll put both of them in the description box. But this says weddings and marriage traditions in ancient Israel. This one also has some good information, so I'm going to run through some of this. It says marriage in ancient Israel was very different from marriage today, right? Again, today, what do you have? A ring on the finger. In the ancient customs, what? A man would have sex with a woman, that was marriage. Although there is a great deal we do not know about Israelite marriage, the biblical texts that speak about it tell us that many Israelite marriage customs were unlike those of modern Western societies. Very good point. People have to understand that there is a difference. Matter of fact, I don't know if I brought out this precept. But we're talking about the kingdom to come, and, you know, Israel is going to rule, right? But we have to understand that what are we going back to doing? You know, if we're going back, if we're, because think about it, at one point we were called Israelites, right? And then throughout time, since we came into this kingdom, since we came into America, we were no longer in this place called Israelites, right? Until the Lord raised up his prophets, his men, to fulfill was, sorry, my brain is all over the place. If I'm not mistaken, Hosea 1:10, in the place where it says, "Ye are not my people," there shall be said that ye are the sons of the living God. So what? In past history, we knew who we were. We knew that we were Israelites. But coming here to America, we lost our heritage. We lost our name. We lost our name, Yasha'Allah. He is a Prince of God. But now through the spirit of the prophets, through the spirit of the mouth, through the spirit of Slakia, through the mouth of the Lord's prophets, what being put back in remembrance and saying, what ye are the sons of the living God. So now, if you see, we're going back to that ancient way, right? We're going back to being called what we were called back in the past, which is Israelites. So if we're going back to being called what we were called back in the past, which is Israelites, well, then the same thing has to be with our customs and the way we lived and how we acted amongst each other and how we conducted ourselves and things like that, right? So this is Job 8:8. It says, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Verse 9, for we are of but yesterday, and know nothing, because our days upon the earth are a shadow. When you read verse 8 in the NLT, it says, just ask the previous generation. The previous generation is what? Our forefathers. And how do we ask them? Through reading the scriptures. Pay attention to the experience of our ancestors. So if you want to get an understanding of how our ancestors lived, how they conduct themselves and things like that, you have to read the scriptures, right? And that's where you understand what we're going back to. Because the same way that we are now going back to being called Israelites, we're also going to be going back to our ancient customs and the ancient way of living. We're not going to be going to this Western way of living. We're going back to that ancient way of living. So, my bad. Let me go back to that. So it says, pay attention to the experience of our ancestors. So we have to read the scriptures and see what our ancestors went through, so that way we can have an understanding of what we're going back to. If I didn't make that clear enough. All right. So it says, first, although girls were expected to be virgins when they got married. Now, another thing, point I want to make is that when you read the scripture, you have to understand that there are two Hebrew words for virgin. The Hebrew word, if I'm not mistaken, is bathwala. That is a woman that has never had sex with a man. She is an untouched woman. That is what people, because when people hear the word virgin today, they think of, oh, a virgin is a woman that's never had sex. And that is according to the understanding in this time period. But in the scriptures, you had two definitions, two Hebrew words of the word virgin. The first word I said was bathwala, which is an untouched woman, or a woman who has never been, had a man go in unto her. And the second word is ilama, which is a young woman of marriageable age, or a young woman, a damsel, as it says sometimes in scriptures. But she could be, married or whatever. She could already have given off to a man, but sometimes the scripture will call her a virgin. Not because she's not a woman that has not had sex, but she's just a virgin. Could also mean a young woman. It doesn't always mean a woman that has never had sex. So again, it has two definitions, two Hebrew words. Bathwala, which is a woman that's never had sex, and ilama, which is a young woman. Two definitions, two Hebrew words, two definitions. So it says, first, although girls were expected to be virgins when they got married. So this is bathwala, which is a woman that has never had sex with another man. She's untouched. And according to Deuteronomy 22:21, could even be put to death if they were not found to be. Men were allowed to marry multiple women. Yes, that is Slakia. Slakia about that. It says men were allowed to marry multiple women. Right? It's not like how it is here in this Western society where one woman guy, no. In ancient customs, a man was allowed to marry as many women as he want. Now, I will say, for anybody who may be younger watching this, so you don't go on a freaking insane, just to give your mind some stability, something that I tell myself, and this is just my, I guess you could say, mantra. A man could have as many women as he wants. Now, obviously, like the scriptures say, all things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. I would not advise you to go out there messing with 10 different women, because you're going to give yourself a headache. But this is just something I tell myself, and this is just like I said, my mantra or whatever, or just something, my saying, something that the Spirit gave me. A man can deal with as many women as he wants, so long as he is mentally and financially able to deal with them. If you are mentally able to deal with multiple women, and you are financially able to deal with multiple women, then fine. I can't say nothing to you because you have the mindset to be able to deal with them, and you have the money to be able to take care of. Let's say you have 5 women. You have the Lord has given you a strong mind to deal with 5 different women, and you have a good enough job to be dealing with 5 different women plus the children that's gonna come out of there. I can't say shit to you, brother. Do your goddamn thing, bro. Live life, be happy. But that is only if you are mentally and financially able to do so. If you are not, you're gonna bring a headache on yourself, and you're gonna, mess yourself up. So that's just to give some stability to a young man that hears that, because when I heard that as well, I went crazy. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta have as many women. I was like, oh shit. So no wonder I wanted every girl in high school, because that's how I was in high school. I saw every girl. I'm like, I don't just want you. I want her, 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 her. And as a young man, you have all these feelings, and you have all this sexual drive in you. You don't understand them because nobody tells you these things, and we were lied to. We weren't told how us as men how we were to be. Now, again, like I said, if you're mentally able and financially able to do these things, then be happy, bro. Go do your thing. But if you're not able to do these things, why bring that annoyance and pain upon yourself? Because women can be a headache, and then adding kids onto that. And if you're not mentally able to deal with the sometimes getting into an argument with your woman, the crying you got to hear from kids, then if you don't have a good enough job to be doing things, this could bring stress upon you. Sometimes even just having one kid for some men is stress, or sometimes even having one woman and one kid is stress for men. So you have to be able to be mentally and financially able to be able to handle that. So it says men were allowed to marry multiple women. It is hard to know how common polygamy, which entailed a husband being married to more than one woman. And for those of you who don't believe that that's in the scriptures, you have the example of obviously Abraham with Sarah and Hagar, but also you have Samuel's father. I forget Samuel's father's name, but his mother's name was Hannah, and I forgot the other wife's name. So Samuel's father had 2 wives. Now Samuel came through his mother Hannah, but Samuel's father had 2 wives, and the Lord doesn't look down upon that and say, "What the hell? What are you doing? Why do you have 2 different women?" Because that was a thing that was fine. Again, if you are mentally and financially able, which it seems like Samuel's father was mentally and financially able to deal with 2 women, you can do so. God is not going to look down upon you as you're an evil person. That is something that people, or something that has been created in this time period to look down upon men with. But a man can do that as so long as, this is my thing, so long as you are mentally and financially able to do so. Don't want to put my thing on you, but that's just how I feel. That's how I would go about things, that's how I would go about things if I am mentally and financially able to do it. So continuing, it says, it is hard to know how common polygamy, which entailed a husband being married to more than one woman, really was in ancient Israel. Also, evidence suggests that compared to women, men had more control over whom they married. For example, Samson chooses his own wife in Judges, the 14th chapter. Even though his parents disapprove of the match, most likely girls. So this is the juicy part that I want to get. All right, they did diligent research to search this up, right? Let's be mature here now. It says most likely girls were married around puberty, whereas men were somewhat older. Now, I did a video going into the flower of a woman's age. What is the flower of a woman's age? When she gets her first period. That is when she hits puberty, which is usually around the ages of 12 to 13 to 14 years old, sometimes 15. Somewhere between that 3 age difference, from 12 to 15. So it said what? Most likely girls, right? This virgin, this Bathwallah, right? Were married around puberty, which is the flower of her age, when she first gets her period, right? Whereas men were somewhat older. So yes, I'll let you go with that, because I would like this video to stay up. I will let you go with that as you please. Okay, you know what it means by a man being older, and don't sit there and think of no 50 and 60. Nah, All right. But do with that as you please. But it's right there for your information. All right. So let's be mature about this now. Continuing on. Though unions were generally based on more economic, the same thing as the other article, or social considerations than romantic ones, some texts, including Songs of Songs, which is Songs of Solomon, show us that ideas of passion and sexual love were also present in ancient Israel. There's a deeper meaning to the book of Songs of Solomon, but they don't know that. I'll read this as well. It says, in order to marry a girl, a man would give her father a gift called a mahar in Hebrew that would seal the betrothal between the husband. That would seal the betrothal between the bride and husband to be. Betrothal was a much firmer commitment than today's engagement. Right. Though some people think of the betrothal gift as a purchase price, this is inaccurate. Anthropologists call this gift a bride wealth. It is found in many societies throughout the world and is not considered a sale by people in those cultures. Israelite wives were not thought of as slaves in biblical texts, right? Some women like to sit there and say, you think of me as a slave? It's like, no, you're not thought of as a slave, but as a woman, you are to serve your husband. That is your purpose. To serve your man, to be an helpmeet unto your man. You are not a slave to him. But a lot of times in this time period, it's looked down upon for a woman to serve a man. She's thinking that her doing all this stuff for you is her slaving for you. But it's very funny, again, I apologize trying to makes it seem like I'm getting on the woman, but a man does not complain about the things that he has to do when it comes to taking care of his woman, taking care of his wife. Some of you brothers that have a family, a wife and children, you ever realize how, listen to men, they never complain about having to take care of their family and things like that. They understand the responsibility of it. They understand. Now, yes, sometimes they may be a little stressed about the job and things like that, but they most of the time keep it to themselves. But as men, we don't complain about having to take care of our families. But for some reason with the woman, it's like the minute you ask her to do anything, it's an issue to do this and to do that. But as men, we don't complain when it comes to us having to take care of you. But for our women, it's a problem to take care of us. Just want to put that out there. Like I said, I don't want to make this too long. So it says, where was I? Okay. It says, some length of time after the betrothal, wedding festivities, often involving days of feasting, would occur. The relationship between husbands and wives was not equal in the ancient Near East, including Israel. It says Baal, or if I'm not mistaken how you say Baal in Hebrew is Baal, which means, like it says here, either it really means Lord, right? But they also have husband or master, which is not, off, but it really means Lord. But all of the Hebrew words for husband also meant Lord or master, and men had life and death power over women in the case of adultery, which in ancient Israel involved a woman having sex outside of her marriage or a man having sex with another man's wife. Men, though, could have multiple wives and concubines and were allowed to go to that word right there. I won't say it just for the sake of, YouTube, but for certain men from Watchmen for Israel saying, oh, you can't mess with harlots, says men, though, could have multiple wives and concubines. Multiple wives, the wives will be Israelite women, concubines, Edomite women, yes. I'm going to say it one more time, Edomite women, the Ishmaelite woman, the Egyptian woman, Hamite woman, Japhetic women. Yes, they had concubines, lesser wives of these other nations. Now, they didn't get the benefits of the Israelite wives, but they were counted, the concubines were counted as lesser wives. Lord's willing, I could do a lesson on that as well. Spirit kind of has me going into this thing right now. I've been reading this for a while. So it says, and were allowed to go to the P's, okay? Or, we're allowed to go to the pros, all right, as you see there. Thus, monogamy was a one-way street in this culture, right? I'm not going to get into the rest of this. You could read this for yourself because, again, I want to at least save this video, but there's some good information. From what I've seen, they have some stuff here that's not bad. Some good information on this website. So just want to do a video on this, going into, again, like it says, weddings and marriage traditions in ancient Israel, because you cannot think of marriage how it happened back then and it being the same today. No. Now, again, back in the ancient world, did our people have rings on their fingers as far as, for a style and because they like rings? Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. People had rings on their finger, but the ring did not symbolize marriage like how it means it today. That's incorrect. But people did have obviously rings on their fingers and things like that to, because they like a ring and things like that. The king would have a ring on his finger, but it didn't symbolize he was married because, again, let's use King Solomon, for example. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Does that mean that the man had 700 rings for each wife? Oh, this one's Maria, this one's Sarah, this one's Sophia. It's like, no. But I pray that this video is edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash, Shalom.